I was at a point in my practice where I was starting to feel the effects of the grind. I was starting to feel the effects on my body, the physicality of what we do every day. Running a business all by myself, got a lot of people depending on me. It's a burden to carry. I started to have an awareness that this just wasn't going to be sustainable forever. I didn't want to have to work like this forever. I'm thankful for the impact that Freedom Founders has had in helping me get my priorities straight.
Good day, everyone. This is Dr. David Phelps of the Freedom Founders Mastermind Community and the Dentist Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Today, I've got the special honor of interviewing one of our longer-standing members of Freedom Founders. And the reason that we thought this would be fun and interesting is because there's always a story. There's a story about the people who I believe are attracted to what we do in Freedom Founders. There's an outcome that we lead with when we talk about what we do in Freedom Founders. And here today, we get to go really behind the scenes and just kind of get the real story about what Freedom Founders has meant for one of our members and his family and his outlook for life in the future and full freedom, because that's what we talk about here. So with me today is Dr. Andy Baber. Andy, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great, David. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being on today and sharing. So let's just start with a little bit what you can tell us about, your family and, your practice. Give us any of the background you want to give us about what that looks like for you.
Yeah, David. Well, thanks. Thanks so much for having me. Glad to be here. I am a 42-year-old guy in practice in oral and maxillofacial surgery in Rogers, Arkansas. And I have two young children. My son is 12 and I have an 8-year-old daughter. And then my wife, Suzanne, we've been married. It'll be 21 years coming up in December. So that's been a real amazing journey. I grew up in Arkansas, mostly with an important 4-year stint in South Africa. My parents were missionaries for a while. And so that experience living internationally definitely was a big, influence in terms of my upbringing, and I think in terms of my outlook.
Where specifically in South Africa were you?
Yes. Well, we were in a large city called Durban, which is on the coast there of the Indian Ocean, and that was 1988 that we moved there, and we came back to the States in '92. It's an interesting time to live in South Africa. That was during the waning days of apartheid, and Nelson Mandela was released from prison when I was living there, and I went from attending all white schools to integrated schools, and so a really sort of foundational part of my early adolescence was that experience overseas.
So your family moved back in '92, and then what was your progression through like your professional career and training?
Yeah, so just came back to the States. I was in 9th grade. My dad took a job as a pastor in Eastern Arkansas, and so I went to high school over in Marion, Arkansas, right outside of Memphis. And I did well academically and was trying to kind of figure out what I wanted to do with my life. When I was a senior, I knew I was going to go off to college, but I hadn't really decided which direction I was going to go. And it was at that time that I started dating Suzanne, my wife, and she had an interest in being a dental hygienist. Her mom was working in a dental office at that time. My youth minister in my church was a dental student. Since our little town is right by Memphis, we had a lot of dental students that lived on the Arkansas side of the river. And my dad had gone on a dental mission trip as a pastor, and came back talking about dentistry. And all these things sort of happened all at once when I was a senior in high school. And it was like, oh, maybe I should be a dentist. And so that was about the extent of the consideration I gave it. And so I went for it, and then go through college and get into dental school. And I got into dental school a year early. So I was the youngest guy in my class, and I just felt like I had enough time to pursue specialty training. I wasn't in any mad rush to, get out there and start making a living. So I just went for it and got into residency and have been in practice since 2007. So coming up on 15 years.
15 years. Yeah. So So really, if I can really just dive into the real crux of the matter here is you became a dentist just to nab Suzanne. I think that's really what we're
Yeah.
saying here.
Yeah.
And the
Right.
rest is
Right.
all peripheral, but really the real catch in your
Right.
life has been Suzanne. And I know you're proud to say that. She's a vivacious, spirited young lady, and I know you guys have fun as a family because we get to see that, we get to witness that, and so that's really great. So your practice model is currently a partnership
Yeah.
with three other
Two
oral surgeons,
two other doctors.
two other
We've
doctors.
we've had as many
Yep.
as three others at times, but right now it's just three of us full time. So yeah, that's been a great thing. You know, it's been very successful, and over the last 15 years have kind of built up a nice little niche referral practice here in Northwest Arkansas, and it's going gangbusters. So no complaints other than I'm working harder than sometimes I want to. Hence the freedom journey here, right?
So let's talk about that a little bit. What what attracted you or prompted you to even engage with us at Freedom Founders, and remind me as to when that date was, Andy.
Yeah, so I first sort of became aware of Freedom Founders in the summer of 17. And it's weird how the internet works. I guess we all kind of understand this now, but even 4 years ago, it wasn't always clear how sort of big brothery it kind of is. And I was at a point in my practice where, I was starting to feel the effects of the grind. And it's a great job. It's a great service. I enjoy it most of the time. But, I started to have an awareness that this pace of practice was not going to be sustainable indefinitely. I was starting to feel some of the physical effects of it with some back problems. Nothing that like put me down out of work, nothing as dramatic as stories you hear from some guys that have to retire early, but I was starting to feel the effects on my body of the physicality of what we do every day. And then also just sort of the mental strain of, at that time I was a solo practitioner, and running a business all by myself. Got a lot of people dependent on me, not just my own family, but my team members and their families. And it's a burden to carry, and it's one that comes with a ton of upside too. But I started to have an awareness that this just wasn't going to be sustainable forever. I didn't want to have to work like this forever. And so, began the exploration process of trying to figure out, what are some plan Bs, what are some ways to create some passive income in my life so that I could take my foot off the gas a little bit. And I had a few stops and starts along the way. I got involved in doing some spec houses here locally, and it's kind of one of those things where you don't know what you don't know. In retrospect, it's so almost funny to look back and at how foolish that was. But it was a learning experience. Unfortunately, one I didn't get terribly burned on. But you just start making little inches in the right direction, trying to figure this out. And the internet, Facebook kind of figured out that I was interested in early retirement and financial independence. And I started seeing stuff about Freedom Founders and just started exploring it, and had a call with the team, and it just went from there, and went to my first meeting. Suzanne and I came in, I think it was November of 2017, and we just drank the Kool-Aid immediately, and we're like, we're gung ho. So it's been pedal to the metal ever since.
It's interesting that you said that you and Suzanne both came. How much discussion had you and Suzanne had about life in general? Obviously, two beautiful kids, and as you said, blessed people, and a great practice. But nevertheless, money doesn't solve all problems. The ability to earn money, I should put, doesn't solve all problems, does it? And
Right.
so, how much discussion had you had with Suzanne even prior to Freedom Founders? Or just the advent of trying some other things like spec houses? I mean, is this something you and she had talked about? We got to do something a little bit different than the traditional, you know, put your money on Wall Street, save 401k, blah blah
Right.
blah. I mean, had you had some of those discussions with her?
Yeah, we definitely talked about it, and I think it was less granular on the specific tactics and strategies, and more sort of big picture of like what kind of life do we want to create for our family? What kind of experiences do we want to have as a family and for our kids? What are the kind of people we're trying to bring up here? And how can we do that? And it's so easy to fall into the lifestyle creep trap, where you work, and you find yourself making some good money, and it's easy for that to get away from you from a lifestyle standpoint. So I think we had tried to be intentional about not having that get away from us, to live more modestly so that we could try to, as a family, enjoy more time together. And that's where I think we really got kind of figured out, like, hey, listen, it's more about our time together than it is about the stuff that we have. So we started having those discussions, and then it was just a matter of figuring out, well, how do we do that? You know, and at first you try to do some of that stuff on your own, and then I think that's where so many people hit a barrier and have those types of bad experiences like I did, where you work on a project and it just turns into a disaster, and it's like, well, that's that, so much for real estate, and they give up. And I'm just thankful that I kept having that curiosity and kind of explored and was able to learn more about how to do that within the context of a community and relationships.
Well, you're not unusual, totally unusual in terms of, I think, being curious, seeking to do something different, and trying something is not a bad thing. I mean, I often say that, if you're not trying things in life that are a little bit different, a little bit out of the ordinary, whatever they may be,
Hmm.
and just if you're not, and you're not having sometimes some bigger problems to solve, then you're really not living life, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so there's a part of it that just says, hey, Andy, that's who you are. Try some things. Not everything's going to work out, but that's how we all eventually, do figure some things out, or we find the right people, or whatever it is. You just have to sometimes go through those channels at first, right? There's
Yeah.
just never a, oh, I pick up this book, I go on the internet and find this thing, and oh, that was it. That was it. No, it just doesn't work that
Right.
way. There's a searching process that I think we all have to get to. And I went through the same thing early in life, and I had to find the right people. It wasn't just a straight shot. You have to be willing to do that work and make it happen. The other thing I was thinking about too, as you were talking, is being very cognizant of the fact that time slips away quickly, especially when you have children at home. Our
Hmm.
good friend Jim Shields, has the group 18 Summers, and that's all about, well, you basically get your kids for 18 summers. After 18 summers, they're, for the most part, probably going to be gone. They're doing their own
Yeah.
thing. They're going on, and that's great. But those years while you have them, there's a tendency, and I'm very much been this way in my life, is, yeah, but I got to build this moat. I got to build this mountain,
Hmm.
this moat. I got this security. I got to have this lifestyle. I want to have my kids have the best of the best, in a great family, and not have to worry about where the food's going to come from, or that we have a roof over our heads. In fact, I want to be able to take some really nice trips, right? I mean, because doggone it, we've worked hard. You worked really hard. You did a lot more years than I did to get to your level of specialization, so that you do have the blessing to provide a service that earns you a much more than average income. So you should be able to have some life. But the problem is, we put off to this mystical day I just call someday when I
Yeah.
get all these things right. And part of it, the things is, well, I got to have enough money saved up, so to take the pressure off. And of course, for most people, that day never comes. And I recall just a few years ago, you actually put a post, I think it was on your Facebook, and it was spring break, and you and Suzanne and the kids had gone skiing somewhere, but you wrote that you were coming home, and you were at a layover at an airport by yourself,
Yeah.
not because you got kicked out by the family, but because you had to get back to work. And so you left the family. You were there with them for a short time. You left them, and
Yeah.
you're thinking about, here I am, and I can't spend the time with my family because I feel compelled, compressed. I got to go back and trade time for dollars, because you just didn't, because of the uncertainty that just, if I'm not working, I'm not being a good steward. What was you
Right.
really thinking then?
Yeah. Yeah, man, that was kind of a key sort of aha moment for me, sitting in the airport with this sick feeling in the pit of my stomach as I was getting ready to go back home to work. Spring break in the oral surgery world is one of our most lucrative weeks, because the kids are out of school and we're doing wisdom teeth, and so it's historically been a week that I've always wanted to work, make hay while the sun's shining. And as our kids have gotten a little bit older, we started spring break, a week they're out of school. So now, we want to start having experiences with them over spring break. But at first I felt like I'm just not completely willing to give that week up completely. And looking back, it was kind of silly because it was so just self-imposed, like I would have been fine. It's not like I needed the extra money that was going to be earned that week, but it was more a mindset thing of just feeling compelled to be there. And it was kind of just a moment of clarity for me sitting in the airport where I felt so just sick, is the only way I know how to describe it. And I was just so mad at myself, thinking, I can't believe that I am missing out on this spring break with my kids for money. And I said, this will never happen again. And fast forward, to subsequent years, this past year was the first year that I took the whole week off, and kind of finally felt like I had gained enough momentum. Part of it was financial, and you get to a threshold where you can see like, oh wait, I don't really, doesn't matter. I've got this income that's happening in the background. And so I can give up this big week because I understand that it just became so clear to me. Like, I've got 7 more spring breaks with my son until he's gone to college. I don't get any do-overs. This is my only opportunity. And so, this year went to Colorado, skied the whole week, had a magnificent week with the kids, and made some really wonderful memories with them, had some really meaningful time with them that I just know I've already got it marked off on the calendar for next year. Like it's done. If I want to work spring break, I can do that. When Vivi graduates high school and she's going to Daytona Beach for spring break, hopefully not. Then I can work. But for now, you don't get any do-overs. So I'm thankful that at the impact that Freedom Founders has had in helping me get my priorities straight.
If you enjoyed watching or learning from this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. If you have a question about any of my content or this specific video, just please leave a comment down below. And as always, stay focused on your freedom. I'll see you next time.